And then we'll do the same thing. I'll do the intro. I'm not gonna fuck up your outro. As soon as you end it, I'm gonna cut it.
My outro, both you gentlemen are familiar with my outro, the "You Are Loved" bit.
Yep.
Well, as soon as I said, that little bit of hope or whatever, the glimmer of hope might be the thing that brings it back, Jared starts talking. I'm like, "What are you doing, man?" Like,
I fucked it up. All right. Let's get some people on, and I will be back in 2 seconds.
All right. Anyway, you're quiet today, Sean. What's going on in Sean's world?
Just hanging out, man. Just hanging out.
Yeah. I'm excited for this. So I've been up for hours. Fuck, I've already done. Well, I guess for you guys, you've been up for a long time. It's nighttime there, right? Yeah.
I'm fucking tired.
Yeah, I'm like invigorated as fuck. I finished my night last night with an ice bath, and woke up this morning and did some fucking laps in the pool, and
ice baths are game changers, man.
They're like transformative beyond words. Like they're just. I never would have. I thought it was gimmicky. Nope. Right? Nothing gimmicky about it, man. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No.
Have you ever tried one, Sean?
What's up?
An ice bath? Have you ever tried one?
No.
Oh,
I know
man.
I should.
Ooh.
I know I should, but I haven't yet.
They are worth every bit of hassle and any dime that it might cost you, right? Is that something you do regularly, Rich? Or
somewhat. I was coming back off an injury from
kind of
jiu-jitsu, and they were helping out a lot for that. And two, it's like, dude, if I could pick between like an hour with a therapist or a 20-minute ice bath, I would take the 20-minute.
20 minutes. What kind of fucking ice bath are you taking? 20 minutes. Jesus Christ, man, that's crazy.
Well, that's that's going to probably tie in pretty well to our topic tonight, because that, like, yes. Do you want to know why? Because I do not, to this day, I do not have the capacity to do the 7-minute ice bath.
I can't imagine the 7-minute. Oh, the addiction part of the.
Yeah, I have to either do no ice bath or I have to do 42 degrees at 20 minutes. Those are the only two things that exist.
All or nothing, bitches. All or nothing. I might relate. One day I didn't have a podcast. The next day I was working 12 or 16 hours a day on it. Right? So, yeah. Right. Every day.
What is going on?
We got anybody jumping in yet?
Got a couple people on.
Who do we got?
Whoever is on, it doesn't show me who's on. It just shows me the amount of people.
Okay.
So if you are on, we are streaming to like 6 different platforms, 6 or 7. So please drop a comment. Let us know which platform you're watching from, and we're just gonna wait a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna hop into this. We'll let this build up for a little bit. But we got Mr. Sean Young from Recover Out Loud podcast, and Rich Johnston from Rosecrest Recovery Services.
And Rosecast, the podcast.
And Rosecast, the podcast. Yeah. The podcast. And then you got Mr. what? Mr. Chuck
LaFlange. Yes.
And then you got Jared Blaine. Brianna would be here tonight, but she's got a toothache, so she ain't here, unfortunately.
Fuck that. I almost killed a young man once when I had a toothache. Not his fault. But he said the wrong thing at the wrong time after 2 weeks of toothache, and well,
she's been dealing with this for like 4 or 5 days now. So she just got antibiotics yesterday, so she should be okay.
By tomorrow, she should be feeling better.
Well, she got to, because we're leaving to Connecticut in the morning. So she was like, I gotta be fighting for Ian Bick's podcast. I was like, yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this tonight. This is kind of cool. We got.
Me too, man.
Last week was just kind of like a little introduction and whatnot, and
sort of like in-house kind of thing that we did last week, with my co-host and Jared's co-host. So this is something else, right? So one of these days we're going to duel over who actually hosts these episodes, but right now we'll just kind of wing it. So
what are we doing today, Chuck?
We'll definitely jump off with some of the same as last week, right? How long do we identify as addicts? Rich actually came on to an episode of The Ass is Awesome to talk about this once. Unfortunately, tech issues being what they were, it never really got out there the way that it was supposed to, that particular episode. Well, not with Rich in it anyway. It's actually one of the hardest technical things I've ever done, because it was like,
I'm live on YouTube.
I had to cut him out. You guys can all appreciate this. I had to cut Rich's contributions out because they were just too sporadic to make sense out of an entire hour and a half episode. Right. And then more than that, me being me, I'm not just going to be like, leave a dead end where somebody says, what do you think, Rich? Every time there was any reference to him, I had to disappear him. That's what I had to do. and that was a fucking technological nightmare. So.
Making sure that I'm live on YouTube. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. I mean, the rest of us were here early, so I don't know, right? This shit probably would have been done by now if
Listen.
Saying. Right, I'm just.
Not everybody gets to sit in Thailand, okay?
You think that's what I'm doing? I'm sitting, buddy. I had to swim this morning. I had to wait for my smoothie. Man. It was like minutes in anticipation. Yeah.
You took an ice bath last night, man.
Yeah,
why don't we
an
ice bath? You know what? I've always wanted to do one, but I don't know if I can do it.
Fucking awesome. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Fucking right, you can. And they are. We were just talking about it when you're out of the room, man. Game change, to use Rich's term on that one, right? Absolutely, 100%. Every single day I'm doing one that I can while I'm here. When I move,
that's the best part about the ice bath for me is every time, like no matter how long I've been doing it for them, every time I get in, the story that immediately pops in my mind is I can't do this.
Yeah,
and
because it's a fucking ice bath.
And then that's the reminder. Like, oh, I can do things that I think I can't do. Or like when my brain tells me I think I can't do something, guess what? That's a fucking lie.
Fuck, you can too, right?
Yeah. We got a Jeffrey Cooper watching from YouTube. So
Jeffrey,
thank you, Jeff, for hopping on. Anybody that's on here, please share out the live, like it, share it. And let me go ahead and just roll this intro and then we can hop into it.
All right. What happens when two compelling podcasts collide? You get BLAKASH Radio, the live nexus of the Ashes to Awesome podcast and the Blacklist podcast. Here we don't just share stories, we delve into them, exploring the depths of addiction and recovery through powerful topic-driven discussions. Each week, join us for a thought-provoking exchange with our dynamic panel as we tackle the tough questions and uncover new perspectives on the issues that matter most. Tonight, Sean and Richard join forces with BLAKASH Radio, diving deep into the heart of addiction and recovery. Their discussion is more than just an exchange of experience. It's a tapestry of challenges, victories, and ongoing journey towards healing. Get ready for a night filled with compelling insights, real-life stories, and powerful discussion that promise to not just enlighten and inspire, but to provoke thought and drive change. What do we think of that intro, folks? What do we think? Hey,
I was over here dancing, bro.
Did I slay it? Me too. Actually, I was like, "What? We need to have this in the background, man. We need to for sure." Jared, I don't know if you can hear this or but
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, we need to, when we're doing the intro, you need to have us shown somehow, like in the corners or something, so people can see us getting our fucking.
There's no way to do it because what happens is the camera and the microphone it goes out while the video.
Oh, so there's something you can't do. Okay, let's talk about that. You need an ice bath. That's what you need.
Listen, she joined us. Okay.
Hey, hi, Brianna. Brianna. Sorry, I want to say Brianna, but it's Brianna. Right. I was saying maybe a typo to say Rihanna just to get some, viewers in, but
yeah, that intro. That's why I leave Chuck to do the intros and whatnot because that's his area. Man. And then Amber Cruz, she's watching on Facebook. She shared it. Cool, awesome. Man. Well, let's hop in. I'm gonna let Chuck roll with it.
All right. So last week, guys, and I don't know if you had a chance to catch it. I always assume no, especially when I'm talking to other podcasters, because who's got time, right? But last week we, myself, Jared, Brianna, and Ryan Bathgate, my Wednesday co-host, had a conversation about how long do we identify as addicts. It's one of those things that as soon as you say that to anybody in the recovery world, they got some shit to say, right? It's universally across the board. Everybody's got an opinion on this topic, and for good reason, right? There's all sorts of thoughts about it. So we're kind of mixed. We're still figuring out what we're going to do for format long term, but I think a great way to start today's conversation, whether or not we stick at it the same way we did last time, would be on kind of the same thing and get your guys' thoughts on that. For a quick recap, Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, and Brianna, correct me if I'm wrong. Jared is of the mind that you are an addict forever, right? And that's your reality now. Brianna, you're a little more soft towards that though, right? Because you feel you can kind of change that. Is that correct?
Oh, hold on. Plug your
mic's
mic.
not working.
Your mic's not in. Plug it in. Right next. Nope, the other one. Right next to mine.
Yeah.
Plug it in.
Unplugged mine.
Thank you.
You unplugged mine. I didn't do anything. You did nothing. There you go. She unplugged my microphone.
I didn't. He did it.
Okay.
Okay.
You know what,
so
Brianna? You're right. He's wrong. He's sorry. It'll never happen again.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Thank you for apologizing.
I got you.
I'm saying I'm a female, so we're usually softer on everything.
And I'm not saying that I go that you're a drug addict the rest of your life. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that my personal experience is I identify that I am a recovering addict and I just choose not to feed my addiction. But
and fair enough, right? And I don't mean to misrepresent.
It's not like I'm just saying
right?
you're always an addict forever. No, not meaning that.
And for myself, I've kind of taken Ryan's stance on this, though I could be swayed either way still with some compelling talk. And then I think we kind of grow out of that and move past it in the other parts of our lives. So really you're splitting hairs at the end of the day. But let's start with you, Sean, just to get a, where do you stand on the issue at hand?
No, this is a really solid topic. I really like it. And it's one that I had not talked about before. So I actually like it. I think for me, it's like a layered cake, right? Right off the bat, both Jared and Chuck, you guys both know that I entered into recovery through 12-step program, right? So I was indoctrinated in that thought, hi, my name is Sean, I'm an alcoholic, right? Yeah. And so I looked at myself as an alcoholic, but then looking at the medical evidence, right, and then stepping into the recovery and all that stuff. The substance or the side effect of the substance leaves our body after 2 years of continued sobriety or recovery, right? Mm-hmm. So why am I going to identify myself as an alcoholic if the symptoms are no longer in my system, right? And so I started to have a problem with that, and not necessarily like an uprising or any of that, but I had a problem with identifying myself as an alcoholic because the side effects, the symptoms are no longer in my system. I have addictive personality, right? I have addictive behaviors, but I no longer indulge in those addictive behaviors. So why am I going to identify as that? So I identify myself as person in long-term recovery because that encompasses the behaviors, which is something that, to a degree, 12-step programs really don't talk about.
There certainly there's a gap there for certain.
Yeah. And if we're trying to talk about like breaking the stigma, right, being like identifying yourself as an alcoholic, in my opinion, from my perspective, identifying yourself as an alcoholic or an addict limits yourself because, to a degree, I know for me, I start to look at myself and say, all I'm ever going to be is an alcoholic. Well, that's wrong.
Most certainly it is. I shouldn't say most certainly it is. In my opinion, I kind of agree with you on that one. Before we do a bunch of back and forth, though, Rich, I want to get like your thoughts on this. So we have a baseline of where we're all at, and then we can start doing some back and forth if that makes sense to you.
Yep. Sorry, Chuck.
Right?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to remember what I said the last time, but I'm just gonna go with whatever I'm thinking now.
Matters how you think. Today, right? Doesn't matter.
It may have changed.
My mind's changed. Right?
If you have any of the stuff you had to clip out, then we'll compare and see how my thoughts.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't exist. They disappeared you. Right?
Okay. Well, good because I'm probably going to be inconsistent. Maybe not. I don't know. Dude, for me, I don't know. Like, I have a hard time putting on anybody else that you have to say you are or you aren't anything. I know that like I'm an addict for at least 7 years and 20 something odd days because that's how long I'm clean right now. And that like, all of the, how do I say this? Really, what you have to do first is say, okay, well, what does it even mean to be an addict? And then, Narcotics Anonymous has their definition and the DSM has its definition and, all like, I don't even know that it's not contentious to even try to define what an addict is, let alone how long am I one. So I'm, kind of like you, like I could be swayed one way or the other. I know what it is for me because I know my personal journey. I know that, I'm an addict. I'm, someone with an extensive substance abuse history who is continually prone to obsession and compulsion.
Fair enough. Right. So
that's the short version.
And labeling as an addict, though, Chuck, just to label this, it's not always chemical either. So just like Rich was saying, so like, okay, me personally, I label myself as an addict in recovery. Okay, but I have just like Sean, I have an addictive personality, and that can come from the phone, electronics, doing this, doing that, the third. So when I say that I'm an addict, I'm not always meaning chemical at the end of the day too. It's the whole broad spectrum.
And that's fair enough, right? I absolutely understand that perspective. Well, I try to understand the perspective as best as I can, not being in your mind, right? But the very term addict has become contentious, like you said, Rich, right? Like I got last week for BLAKASH Radio, I got blasted by somebody for even putting the word addict in the thumbnail, right? And I fought back to that real quick and said, listen, we don't, like on our show, on the Ashes Awesome show, we don't even really use the word addict. I mean, it does come out, but I prefer to say people suffering an addiction when I'm talking about other people. When I'm talking about myself, I might say, I've been a drug addict for a long time, whatever, in a casual way. But there is some stigma to it, right? And it's that stigma sucks. And we don't refer to our brother with cancer as our cancer patient. We don't, he doesn't say I'm cancer. He says I'm John or whatever. You know what I mean? And
I refer to my mom as a cancer.
Touche. There where there's a whole other layer. The onion is being unwrapped over here, right? Or unlayered. So so to me, it's the stigma of even using the word is kind of that said, when I fought back against, or when I rebutted, I should say, to that blasting from that one particular person, it was, if you're going to change the minds of people, you have to use the language they use in order to get their attention. If I'm saying things like suffering an addiction or survivor of addiction or whatever, all I'm doing is getting people to agree with me that already fucking agree with me. And what's the fun in that, right? Like, challenge me, right? So in the advertising of these conversations, I will say addict every time, right? I might even say it, are we always a piece of shit addict? I don't care, right? Because I want to get people's, I want to get, you know what I mean? I want to ignite the conversation.
If you guys are watching, please leave a comment. Let us know like your stance.
Oh yeah, give us your thoughts.
That's why we do this. It's just
Last week we had some great comments, eh?
We did.
We had one of my own co-hosts, Dr. Lisa, spent almost the entire episode disagreeing with me, which never happens. Her and I are almost always aligned on issues, and she was like just blasting me the whole time. So it was kind of fun.
Brianna's gonna read the definition of an addict.
I was gonna read it again.
Okay. Go ahead, read it.
Do it in your radio voice, Brianna. Do it in your radio voice.
I don't have one, please. I don't have one. So it says, one exhibiting a compulsive, chronic, psychological, physiological, or psychological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity.
That's pretty broad.
One strongly inclined to use, or indulge in something repeatedly.
So,
boom, that's the one.
Yeah,
that's what.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, because it's not always chemical. Because it's not always chemical. Exactly. It could be anything.
See, I think there's a difference. Sean, you said long-term recovery. Rich, you said compulsive behaviors. Those all boil back to being an addict. There's a difference between being an addict and being addicted. You use, I'm an addict, after you stop using the substances. So I think, like I said before, I think it just, like I just read, we have those compulsive tendencies. We know that, and they can go to other things, and it's putting those at bay.
Brianna, though, you could grow past that, though. Last time we spoke, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I don't think it's so much as growing past it. I think it's learning to recognize those behaviors and
them,
putting them at bay before they become a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have that mindset for the rest of our lives. We can change it, but it's always going to be there somewhere.
Rich, I saw you kind of light up for a second, maybe a microsecond, when I said when I mentioned Buddy kind of blasted me for using the term addicts. Where do you fall on that? Is that
Oh, are we family friendly on this show?
No,
in context. In context. It's all about context, man.
Anything goes. Anything goes.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I'm in the fuck that guy camp. I mean, That's just I don't even know who that guy is, but that like just what a, you know, like because what you said initially is true, and I'm going to paraphrase it here, but basically like the difference is academic. You know, people are dying, so that like it's an interesting discussion, and I think it makes for good content for people in recovery, and I'm glad that we're doing this. But to keep your eye on the ball is that this is, you know, the human beings are dying on the streets anonymously every day, and
anonymously, right? Wow.
Yeah, and it's an academic difference. I mean, that whether or not I want to say that, you know, I'm an addict, because that could mean even, you know, even with a definition on hand, that can mean different things to different people. So that, yeah, I kind of lit up because, you know, like typical internet, you know, like typical internet like that, you've totally missed the point of what it is that
brother, I could do a fucking podcast, like an entire podcast, like week after week about the arguments that I have online. Yeah. And I typically don't engage. Like somebody has to jump at me pretty hard for me to even bother. Right. And then every now and again, and I could do an entire podcast on the disagreements that I have with people over typically splitting hairs. Right. Same. Over little things and people being offended for other people. That's my favorite. That's my personal favorite right there. Right. Like this. Oh, we don't even, you're calling this. Okay. Listen, I've never said addict to somebody that took offense to it ever. And I've talked to a lot of addicts in my time, you know, right? So you don't get to tell other people what they need to be offended about. Right. So cut it out, you know. Right. Sean, you got anything to say? Oh, go ahead, Rich. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna jump in on the cancer analogy, because I do have a thought on that, because years ago I was talking to someone who used that exact same you know, kind of line of thinking, and he said, why, if you have cancer, do you not say, hi, I'm Rich and I'm cancerous? But if you have alcoholism, you say, hi, I'm Rich and I'm an alcoholic. And it took me years to think about that, and I was leaning toward that guy being right, and I talked that out, and finally what I came to, and you know, this is, I think the counterpoint to that is that I don't know anybody who's ever had cancer where their cancer told them they didn't have cancer, but I know a lot of addicts whose addiction tells them that they don't have addiction.
Shit, man, I got to get you on. Dr. Lisa is gonna. Oh my, she's going to love that.
I like Dr. Lisa. I don't want to argue with Dr.
Lisa. That's the base of her. Of a lot of what she says, and I love Dr. Lisa, and she has me swayed in her direction all the time. In this episode, in this issue, is no different.
Which side of the issue?
What a great counter! What a great conversation to have about. You know, what a great counter to that.
Yeah. I want Sean to hop in because he's.
Yeah. Sorry, Sean. Yeah. What the hell was that noise?
Man, I'm flabbergasted. That's my only big word for the day. Okay, flabbergasted. Anyways, I have a military education. Okay, so that's my big word.
America.
It was Veterans Day, America. Anyways, so first off, Chuck, to what you were talking about, you know, arguments with people online, dude. I have arguments all the time on TikTok. Jared sees them, and it's over. It's literally over some of the dumbest shit, right? What people consider sober, like. Okay, look, if your substance of choice, right? If your substance of choice, if you're abstaining from it and something else is helping you maintain that recovery and it's not a detriment to you or society, what the fuck does it matter? What the fuck does it matter that you know that Joe Schmo down the road, and I'm gonna say Joe Schmo a lot. Joe Schmo down the road is on MAT, right? If it's keeping him sober and he's not abusing it. It's none of my fucking
Is his life better today than it was yesterday as a result of?
We argue. You just argue every single day with closed-minded people, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, and so like I'm in the suck my asshole, you know, category here.
We got some profane guests today, don't we?
Right. And then what Rich was saying about, I had to clap, man, because
you had the clap.
I look, man.
That's a different podcast, brother. That's a different podcast.
Clap, okay.
Made it weird. Yeah.
Hey, I have HIPAA. I'm protected by HIPAA. Anyways, no. No, what Rich was saying
escalated so fast. Okay.
Right. What Rich was saying about, you know, about his disease being the only disease known to human beings that tells him that you don't have a problem. Chuck, and Jared, I've shared this both with you guys. Being an alcoholic, everybody else was the problem except for me, right? If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, man, I think you drink too much," I'm like, "No, fuck you. You. I don't have a problem with drinking. You have a problem with my drinking, right?" And so it all runs back to that. There's no disease in the history of humanity except for addiction that tells you that you don't have the disease. So yeah, I fully agree with Rich.
I'm as we're talking here, you guys go ahead for a second. I'm going to message Dr. Lisa and throw her that quote and see how long it takes her to jump online. So
okay. So for me, like when I say like I'm rich and I'm an addict, that's not like and a lot of it ties into I guess your own identity or something. But to me, like that's not, I don't feel like I'm deprecating myself. Like that is an affirmation for me. Like that is like the, hey, like remember all those years that everybody else was the problem. Hey, here's your reminder. We don't do that anymore. That's like, what does Taylor Swift say? Like, hi, I'm the problem. It's me. And that's what I'm saying when I'm saying I'm an addict. Like, hey, I remember that, what did one of my mentors say when it's stuck in my head it's still in my head to this day. This was 10 years ago when I pulled the victim shit and the, everybody else is the problem shit. He just pulled me in real close and he was just like, motherfucker, you're wrong, you owe. And that, obviously can be taken out of context and too far in a self-deprecating way. But that, like when I say I'm rich, I'm an addict, that's me saying, hey, I am wrong and I owe.
Taking accountability for your life?
Yeah, man. I spread a lot of negativity when I was out there doing my thing. In a lot of ways, I caused a lot of harm. And I do better to not forget that, not to live in it, but to keep that in the forefront that like, this is serious stuff we're messing with here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Chuck, do you know what the biggest feedback from last week was?
For what was that?
For us to shut the fuck up and let her talk more. Literally, I swear to God.
I had a couple people message me after and say that.
I swear to God, they literally said, "You guys need to shut up and let her talk."
Well, then that's what we need to do.
No. Right? I'm just saying that.
Maybe you more than anybody, because you're talking. I'm not. I'm just saying. Right?
He never lets me talk.
I know.
Well, I'm over here nudging her. Always tell her, hop in, say something. Do something.
I know. I used to co-host with a partner of mine, and I had the same challenge. It was like, really I was waiting for you to talk. It was just like, you never give me a chance. It's like, but I was fucking waiting for you. So I don't know how you make that. I don't know how you make it work. I don't know how you make it.
I'm really good at getting off topic, so sometimes I tell myself to shut up.
But is that negative self-talk? Is that what that is?
No, I want to stay on topic, and it will end up, down the road and forget where we just were.
Here's the thing about an organic conversation. It goes where it goes. Right?
Now with Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
What was that? Sorry, I didn't catch that, Sean.
We're gonna be hanging out with Joe Schmo down the road.
Yep.
Yeah. But what were you saying? An orgasmic conversation?
Well, hey, let's hey, this is me and Brianna talking. Okay, just stay on.
Whoa. Hold on. Actually, I'm gonna read we got some comments in, so hold on.
Okay, good stuff.
As I was about to talk.
Why don't we let Brianna read the comments? Why don't we do that?
Well, there's one comment that's the biggest one. I'll let her read it. Go for it.
Okay.
It's on it. Hold on. Dave, it's on screen.
Do you think I can read that on the screen?
Hold on.
See?
I have to hold my phone like this to read it.
This is why men live our lives terrified and confused all the time. Right there.
Well, I'm putting it on screen so they can read it as well.
Okay.
All right, there you go. Go ahead and read it.
Okay. Yeah. Amber said, "Hey guys, first time finally turning in. Great stuff so far. I'm coming up on 2 years sober from alcohol on Christmas Eve. It's a hard topic.
Amber.
It's a hard topic whether to use a label or not. I am very vocal and refer to myself as a former alcoholic in active recovery. You are all making some incredible points, though."
Thank you, Amber. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then that kind of goes along with
congratulations on 2 years. I'm probably not going to talk to you Christmas Eve, so I'll say it a little bit early and make the assumption that you're going to make the next, little while, month of change. So yeah.
I think that kind of goes back to what Sean was saying before. You know, identifying as an alcoholic, but you're in active recovery.
I made this point last time, and Scotty H, who was jumping in on the comments last time, came on the show. First words out of his mouth: "My name's Scott. I'm a survivor of addiction." Ooh. Right, and I think if we all had to agree on something, like you're in the room until you agree, kind of thing, right? I think we could probably all come in on that one somewhere, right? On some level. Tell me if I'm wrong, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm. I'm done with that.
Yeah. Right.
But also, like, I'm, Chuck, me at this point, like, there's not like, you're not really going to tell me anything about you that I'm going to disagree with.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever, you're telling me is going on inside of you, then fine. But also, I think it is important, especially for folks who are early on, to kind of, to kind of jump in with the pack and, what do they say? Like, get in the middle of the boat. Like I was referring to myself as an addict before I understood what it was that actually meant, and that was helpful to me, because what I found out was addiction, as I experienced addiction, was a disease of isolation, physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally.
Damn straight.
So that even before I understood what it meant, and then there's a lot of argument against this. I get it. But to be able to come into a group of people who have little traditions that they do, and little social quirks, or just etiquette, like they have a certain etiquette about them, to jump in and participate in a culture that wasn't the culture of stealing petty cash from dope dealers on the east side of Baltimore. Any culture other than that was a step up for me, and was really like the best launching pad that I was going to get out of that shit.
Okay. So I just, Chantel Huel from Trap House Test was just, sorry to smile in the middle of your thing there, just messaged me directly to say she's been banned for 26 more days from watching live on Facebook because she mentioned El Chapo or something in some post. So
she's got to message you directly, Chuck?
Well, no, she's not able to watch live. And she's just letting us know, right?
Shit.
Yeah. No, so I just thought it was Trap House Testimonies. If you're not aware, is an amazing page.
Yeah.
Right. Chantel she just says the most profound shit, and it just slides out of her all the time. Right. I mean, like, she just casually says something. You're like, holy fuck, that was awesome. So
yeah, she's coming on next month. We got her scheduled next month.
Oh, you do got her booked up, eh?
Nice. On December 3rd. I had to look at my calendar.
So you're recording, so then
recording December 3rd.
Yes. The episode around spring sometime. Right?
Oh my gosh. You know what? He's jealous. Okay, that's what it is. He wants to give me so much shit.
Horribly jealous.
He's jealous that I got 3 months of content backed up.
Can you fucking? And here's me, my 1 year sober date, 20 minutes before I'm supposed to go on for the weekend ramble, going, Chantel, can you please come on for my 1 year sober? Like,
no. We love you. Yeah. But listen, Sean's just dropped the other day, and we recorded that 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, and then
and then you're dropping my episode, and we recorded at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
well, look at all you guys, all you neurotypical
what I'm saying
people
is
out there, right? Yeah, no, I don't have ADHD, Chris. Fuck you, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, I get it.
It's crazy, but yeah, Chantel, I'm excited to have her on. I've seen her on yours, and so
yeah, she's great, eh? She's great. Yeah, she is.
We got another comment for Brianna to read. Yeah, you're reading the comments tonight. Chuck said it.
Ooh, he just told you.
Heart palpitations when you said that.
He just told you. I know, right?
Yeah. There's the patriarchy for you.
Oh, jeez.
Do you want to show it?
Let it load up. This is why. All right. Let's go.
He's just talking tough in front of his friends. He takes it back.
Do you know what this man did for me yesterday? I have a tooth infection, and I sent him to urgent care to get me antibiotics.
To tell them that I had a tooth infection, to give me antibiotics so she could stay at work.
And I
nothing like admitting to crime on live fucking Facebook, but there's that. I'm kidding. SWAT team's not going to knock on your door.
Where?
Let's get this.
Wait.
Let's get this camera.
No, you're good. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. It's fine. I knocked my headset out. Okay, read that, please.
This says, she said, now I like that, to what you had said before, Chuck. I can't remember exactly what it was, but
Survivor.
Said, I also feel that me identifying as an alcoholic isn't for the benefit of anyone else other than the person who hasn't entered recovery yet. It's like a beacon. Like, hey, I'm an alcoholic and I'm in recovery and it's real. So if I can do it, so can you.
That.
Very,
100%
very
that.
good point.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very well said. I think you might have a guest spot on my show if you'd like it, because that was extremely well said, right?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people need to hear.
I think if Amber sends up another one, she's going to get radio voice of the day. Right? I'm just saying.
Right?
Keep it coming, Amber. Keep it coming.
Amber's dropping truth bombs over here.
Yeah.
No shit, eh? That's actually amazingly well said. Something that we spoke to, and Mike at the Yatra Center here, who owns it here in Thailand, he really enlightened me, and you guys, especially you, Rich, and I'm not sure how much 12-step. You got a lot of 12-step experience, right, Sean? Like you've been you spent some serious time in the rooms, right? You could recite the steps.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't even come close, right? So that's just to show the difference in our.
I can tell you what 1 through 6 are. Okay.
I don't know what any of them are.
I've done them fuckers over and over again, right? Yeah, I got 3 nailed down. Right?
I also have a big book behind me, so it's all good. I don't know. Right there.
So Mike, who was a 12-stepper for a very long time, he's kind of moved on to other things, but one of the things he said about calling yourself an addict or an alcoholic, meeting appropriate, was that it's the leveler, right? It's the equalizer in a room. So it doesn't matter if I'm famous, it doesn't matter if you're poor, none of that matters. We're all just alcoholics or all just addicts, and that brings some equity to the entire situation, right? Which I find if you're going to a 12-step meeting, you should probably go by 12-step protocol, right? And like you're in somebody else's house, you should do the thing that they do in that house when in Rome and all that, right? So this is really where Lisa started to jump at me last time. Well, not jump at me. I make it sound like she was being all fucking mean, but it was definitely some things to consider anyway, right? But enemies in their big gulps. We don't have big gulps here in Thailand. You Westerners and your big gulps and your daylight savings times.
I just finished my coffee. I need more to drink.
Yeah. You know what, gentlemen? These guys have seen it, but I'm gonna show you what comes in my fridge every day. This is the shit right here. Oh. Bougie water bottles, right?
Nice.
Right, every day, and every day there's more than there was the day before, because I blast through them all. So the little Thai lady that comes in here and like does the magic coffee table thing is like, woo, and there's more in here. She's like, well, obviously he needs more water, right?
Yeah.
Right? So,
Can we hear more about the little Thai lady who does the magic coffee table thing? What is
right.
Do you ever see the shit? Do you ever see the content about the magic coffee table? I think he's a Brit who does it. Maybe.
Oh yes.
Yes, right. So I just put it there, baby. It's okay. Because hey, if you just put all your laundry here, it gets folded. It's crazy, right? So this is my whole room. My whole life here is the magic coffee table. Who am I?
Keep it up, right? And you might be able to get us sponsored with that water bottle.
Right there, you go. Right, hey, you could put your sticker, your label right here, right?
Yep.
Right. And you know what's great about these bottles?
Right.
Stylish yet practical. Right. There we go. We got some radio voice for you.
I want to hear what the coffee table Thai lady has to say about the subject. Is she around?
You wouldn't understand her. She speaks Thai. That's a great. It's like,
but you're here though.
I tell you what, she's not sitting there going, I can't read that screen, right? I can tell you that much.
but listen, I'm old. My eyes are bad.
You're over there, and you can help. You can help translate.
No, I really can't. I know my pet, which means not fucking spicy.
My pet.
I don't do it. I don't do anything spicy. Yes, my pet.
My pet is spicy.
It means no spicy.
Oh, okay.
No spicy. Right. Like I cry about barbecue chips, and I'm in Thailand.
Mm.
So a little bit displaced. Here, their Slurpees are spicy. Like that, like everything is spicy here, right? Like
their Band-Aids are spicy.
Jeez, man.
I want a 3 chili Band-Aid. Everything is like a 5 chili system. 0 is not a number on the chili scale, right? Like you automatically, of course you want 1 chili. That goes without saying. But do you want 2, 3, 4, or 5? Right. So for me, and you know what? I'll speak to that real quick about Yatra because hey. I've got quite the opportunity going on here. The day I got here, I was like, I don't really like spicy food, but I'm here. I'm living in Thailand now. Like, I'm not just here to visit. I better get used to it. I better figure this shit out. And Stacy, who's doing my welcome package, says, No, you're at a trauma center. You can figure that shit out when you move out of here. We don't want lunch to be stressful. Right? So we'll work with you on this. So every day when I sit down at supper, there's a plate with my name on it, and it's not spicy. Right? I've had to explain twice now, like, no, not spicy means like not spicy. It doesn't mean what you think is not spicy. Right? It's like in my world, medium is a lie. It's either fucking hot or it isn't. And mild makes me not trust it because why'd you have to put mild on the jar? Right. So like to put it in context, right?
Hey, before we move on, we forgot to do this PSA.
Oh, do the PSA. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna play it real quick. We will be back after a short commercial break.
Yeah. The following PSA is brought to you by The Phoenix. The Phoenix is not just a gym, it's a community where the real weight lifted is not just barbells, but hearts, minds, and spirits. Whether you're in recovery or simply choose to live a sober lifestyle, The Phoenix offers a range of activities from yoga to hiking, all led by people who've walked the path of transformation. So why not aim higher with The Phoenix? The first membership requirement is just 48 hours of sobriety. Rise from the ashes and soar with The Phoenix today. Do you know about naloxone, otherwise known as Narcan? This life-saving medication can reverse an opioid overdose in minutes. You might think, I don't need it, I'm not around opioids. But the truth is, you never know when you'll be in a situation where you could save a life. It's easy to use, and in many places offer it for free or at a low cost. So let's be prepared and look out for each other. Remember, you might not plan on being around opioid use, but you never know when it will be around you, and you could save the life of somebody that loves and is loved. I'm Chuck LaFlange with the Ashes to Awesome podcast, and remember, you are loved. Yeah. Let's carry Narcan.
Base, dude.
Right? Mm-hmm. You know them? You know about them, Phoenix?
No, I don't, but just watching the commercial, that sounds cool.
Right? So here's how we come into Phoenix world, if you don't mind me telling the story, Jared. Right?
Chuck's voice helps with it too.
Okay. Yeah. Don Furtman is the guy who took Subway from 600 stores to 37,000 stores. As you might not know, he's also in long-term recovery. He came on First Jared's podcast. 5 minutes in, he started talking about stigma, and I was like, this guy has my attention. Because, you know, like stigma is my hot button. I'll get riled up every time I hear it. I want to talk more about this guy. Well, Phoenix approached him. They had like 2 like local branches or something to that effect, and said, hey man, like, could you help us grow this? And he took it on as his cause. And he's like, now they're all over the United States. They're in parts of Canada and looking to expand beyond all of that too. Right. So what a great,
he was also on Undercover Boss. And that's actually where I found him at, was on Undercover Boss. And I was like, yo, I got to reach out to this guy. And so I found him on Facebook and we messaged back and forth. And then he was like, yeah, man, I'll come on. Go check those episodes out. Myself, as well as Chuck. But yeah, the Phoenix. So it's really, really cool because like I haven't been able to do it yet, but on Tuesday nights they have an online music course, and you're over Zoom, so you're able to go on, and it's just a whole music community. So
it kind of focuses on songwriting, doesn't it, Jared?
Songwriting, songwriting, and of course, you know, I'm a musician, and Don's a musician as well, and so you know. That's obviously where our passions lined up. But
he was in a rock band called the Crayons.
The Crayons. He was the orange. He was the orange crayon.
He was the orange crayon in the whole thing. That's awesome. I know, right? Like, how do you not interview a guy that's been, you know, a crayon? I mean, Jesus.
But Christ, right? Shout out to the Phoenix. So they're really awesome.
What a great idea, right? And it was actually kind of the inspiration to doing this Friday nights. Let's give somebody, you know, people something to do on what is. I can't say this most, you know, for certain, but I pretty certainly is by far the biggest night of the week that people relapse, right? Friday night would be everybody's trigger, you know, paychecks, right? Paychecks cause relapse. We all know that, you know, it's easy to be sober when you're broke. Right? It's really easy to be sober when you're broke, relatively speaking, to, you know, a pocket full of money. So, you know,
I got too much shit to do on a Friday to even think about relapse.
Good. Well, I hate keeping busy, right? That's half the battle in this fight. You know,
that's how we do it. Record 3-4 times a week, just busy work, this, that, and the third.
I know you're always
doing something. I'm always what?
Nothing.
I'm always what?
Making excuses.
I'm training to be a fucking shaman healer, so I'm
really. I saw something about that. I remember you had mentioned about that.
You should be over here in Thailand, brother. That's where you should be at the Yatra Center.
We all
part of
got to
their whole
start
list,
somewhere, brother.
Yeah. Are you stuck though? How are you stuck?
I'm training to be a shaman healer.
I know. I'm saying you should bring that over to Thailand. Be at the Yatra Center, right? Yeah. Let me tell you, man. I'm looking at places in Chiang Mai right now. $220 gets me like a really nice studio apartment.
I know that place was nice that you sent me.
In American, that's like 130. No, it's not quite that cheap.
I was like, holy crap.
180 bucks.
You know what's crazy is Chuck, you and I were talking about how I've met a lot of people from Calgary through podcasting. Most of the people that are doing the shaman class are from Calgary.
Really? So is it because you said Calgary last time, but what you meant was like the next province over and like Saskatoon and stuff, right? So
with Dan.
Do you mean Canada or do you mean Calgary this time?
No, Calgary. I promise with my heart, I promise they are from Calgary.
And what I want to Brianna wants to talk about. She wants to shift gears onto something that we experienced on Facebook the other day with
Let's hear it. Let's have it,
fuck that guy mentality.
All right. You have my attention.
So, like Rich said before, like when we have cancer, we don't walk around identifying, I'm cancer. And when people go into remission, there's no question about it. You're in remission. And I think getting sober, people have huge arguments about, how you are sober. And, I think it's one of the biggest arguments ever. Nobody really, you won't agree on everything with other people. So,
can I lay the baseline for it? Or do you
How about you just let her talk, Jared? Just let her talk.
Haven't you said that already? You gotta let her talk.
I got you, Brianna.
So Jared will call me quite frequently and be like, I just tagged you in something, or can you go look at this and, talk to this person, like go in on them. So there was this conversation the other day. Ben had posted something.
I'm gonna tell my wife.
Well, I mean, I'm a bitch, but I do handle things a little bit easier than he does.
Yes. Because I will just go off on somebody and be like, you're fucking retard, and I can't do that. I have to be professional.
No, I will too.
I don't even say the R word, man. Jeez, hey, and I'm like,
I'm not meaning it like that.
In trouble for saying shit I shouldn't. Okay, anyway, continue, Brianna.
So Benjamin Lerner had made a post congratulating Quinn on his sobriety, and this one guy commented and was like, just basically saying he's not sober because of how he's sober.
Because he's Cali sober.
Yeah. So Ben was going back and forth with him. Jared was going back and forth with him. Like he told Jared, sit down. I have 22 years. Let me tell you how it is. And just going in. So I made a comment and then I decided to go over to his Facebook. And he's a recovering alcoholic. Tell me how 3-4 pictures in on his profile picture, he's sitting there at dinner with a bunch of people with a shot and a beer right in front of him. But he wants to tell us how to be sober.
Yeah.
And it's just like
hypocrites, eh?
Yeah, and I just find stuff like that. You can't disagree with somebody and tell them to sit down. I'm going to tell you how to be sober, and you have public pictures of you actively drinking.
You can. It just makes you an asshole.
Well,
right? So
and it's.
So let's hit on.
It drives me insane.
Let's hit on that then.
Word applies.
Thank you, Rich. no, but that's what it is. It's like because these people have this one-track mind on, they're 100% chemically abstinent, and that if nobody else is the same way, they're not sober 100%. Quinn, amazing dude, love that guy. He's supported me along the way, and he's Cali sober. He microdoses, when he needs to.
I'm going to put this guy on blast.
Hold on. That's the way that he recovers. And this guy's over here just saying, no, because he smokes weed, that he's not this, that, and the third. And it's like, there's more than one way to recover. And that's why we do this right here is to we support. I don't smoke weed, but guess what? I fully support if somebody needs to do it. I don't smoke weed, but I take kratom. Okay. All right. That's a form of MAT, but that's what I've been on. That's kept me off the fentanyl. That's what I do.
Done. Yeah.
But he's over here saying, "Oh, because you're on this, that, and the third." No, no, you're not sober whatsoever. You know, you need to sit down, little boy. I said, I don't need to sit down for nothing. I said, I don't need you to explain nothing to me.
Kind of sounds like drug talk, doesn't it? I'm just saying. It sounds like somebody might have had a glow on telling you about being sober. So I'm just saying.
So
right?
go show it to the camera.
Oh, we're gonna blast this guy now.
She wants to blast the guy.
Oh, is it gonna clear it up? No.
We can't really see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
See the beer
Yeah.
in front of him?
Yeah. And I
But
guess speaking to the 20-year sober thing.
And I blurred everybody else in the picture, so 'cause I don't know who they are.
Speaking to the 20-year sober thing, though, I think, and I've said this before in the past, if you've been sober for 5 years, especially if you're not in the recovery world, like frontlining it or something somehow, or like really immersed in that life, if you've been sober for more than 5 years, it's really hard to get an understanding of what's happening. If you've been sober for 10 years, you're really getting everything secondhand. You know, 15 and 20 years, I mean, that's amazing. I don't mean to take away from it, but it's hard to relate to the realities of today, to where Matt is so common, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't opiates back then. It was with heroin. Heroin compared to fentanyl, nope. Right?
I thought about Dr. Lisa with his comments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, you know, your 22-year-old recovery, you know, is an old, you know, it's not the same mentality that it is right now.
One track mind.
It is, right?
It's
and it's
old.
just a reality. And you can't take away from somebody, from a recovery guy that's been sober for 20 years. I mean, that's fucking amazing. And how many people has he affected in his life if he's in the rooms and he's all those things? But
and that's the biggest thing between today's day of recovery and 22 years ago.
I see Rich is in deep thought here, Jared. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was looking at Sean's face.
That's okay.
Yeah, I want to hear what you got to say.
I'm formulating is all, but I'm listening too.
Okay, no, I didn't. I assumed you were listening, but it was like he's got some deep.
That's all I was saying was just the difference.
No, well, okay. So one thing I think that's worth pointing out, like when you get into this fucking weird thing that we do, man, it drives me crazy because it's so bizarre that like I'm not playing into this hierarchy of who has more time and that like your opinion's not more valid because you have more time than me, and my opinion's not more valid because I have more time than you. Because to me, that's like in recovery, we don't get paid by the hour, we get paid piece rate, and I think that's something that anybody who's been there can agree on. So that like if you have, which you know, it seems like this guy probably hasn't based on photographic evidence, but you know, let's say the beer isn't his, he's not drank, done nothing for 20 something odd years. Just because you've not drank for 20 something odd years, that doesn't mean that you've put in any actual work to get any experience that's worth a damn, that lends you like any credibility for you to share at me about what is and isn't clean. And then conversely, on the other side of that, like where Matt is involved in that, and I follow Ben Lerner and you know a lot of his content, and I'm kind of stuck in the middle because to me, like California sober drives me crazy. And I mean, don't even get me started when Demi Lovato went and spoke at the Global Exchange Conference, which is like the biggest addiction conference for the year, and we've got California Sober Girl as the keynote speaker. Because what I've had to come to is that I don't own the word sober and I don't own the word clean. And just because it means something different to me doesn't mean that you can't say that you are too. But it's worth a distinction to say that, you know, if you're somebody who's on long-term Suboxone, you're not doing what I'm doing. And that's not me coming in and saying that you're better or you're worse or what I have is superior, but purely from a linguistic standpoint, those two things are different. Abstinence is different from MAT.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That
you know,
does.
like those two experiences are different. Mm-hmm. And then I, you know, like if I put on my hat as an interventionist and, you know, kind of go in clinical mode for a minute, then like in my professional life, I steer away from MAT because there are a lot of downsides that I feel like don't get enough attention because there's an impulse to be just so accepting of everything that, you know, we're not really always taking a realistic account of the picture into frame.
I'm going to toot my own horn for a second. December
To the west.
27th. December 27th will be 2 years since I dosed on Suboxone. Was it easy to get off of? Sitting here today looking back on it, yes, it was. While I was going through it, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. But I kept myself really informed. When I first got on it, going through it, there was a lot of questions that I would ask my doctor, and I think that's the biggest issue is a lot of doctors aren't there to educate their patients. They're just there to prescribe their patients, and I think if there was that educational part going along with it, it would be, it would be more understood. It absolutely would be. I stopped at 4 milligrams.
Yep.
Not by choice. I was already tapering, but something happened. I was without my medicine for 12 days. Why am I going to come back home and start taking it again? I was already trying to get off of it. It was easier to do because I had that education from my doctor, and my prescriber, and that helped. That absolutely helped. And I agree with you. A lot of people will steer clear from it because there isn't that education out there. And not everybody has that support. I think it would be a lot easier if that was more, broad across the board.
Yeah, and it certainly has its place. There's no argument that there's a seat for MAT at the table, as far as treating the crisis that we're in now. But it is, in my opinion, and this is one firm opinion that I have, is that it's overprescribed.
Absolutely.
I think that it's used in cases where it's not appropriate. And that's also too, a function of Western medicine as a whole, to where that, like, how do we treat things in the West is with pharmaceuticals. And then I will go down a rabbit hole with that, of like, don't tell me that, like, and, indulge me for a minute, but don't tell me that, like, for some reason, Saudi guys blew up airplanes in New York. And so we had to go to war with Afghanistan. And then a couple of years after that, like, there's pictures of American troops guarding poppy fields. And then randomly, totally unconnected and coincidentally, we have like the worst opiate crisis that you've ever seen. And the Sacklers and a bunch of people get really, really rich. And that there's not any kind of larger machine at play here. Who's not out for the best interest of the people and who wants to make money, because the United States government would definitely never do anything like that, except for the time that they did exactly that with the Iran-Contra debacle, and they framed Freeway Ricky Ross and funneled a bunch of crack into the inner city in LA and used it to pay for black budget wars and stuff. But
so certainly not without precedence, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm very skeptical of that, because that, like, I'm just slow down. Okay, I've got a drug problem. Slow down. Is another drug really the answer that I'm looking for here? Yeah. Usually not, and especially usually not a long-term solution is tossing another drug into the mix.
Absolutely.
Here, I'm gonna throw up this.
Sorry, I'll take my tinfoil hat off now. But worth saying.
Okay. Oh, Amber's up.
Amber's got this. She's got another banger.
I was kind of on the fence about reading this comment. So, a guy recently commented on a post that addiction is a choice. I tried to politely tell him to F off and use his time more wisely to educate himself on addiction. He then responded that he was sober for 4 years on his own and that people are selfish and that addiction is an excuse. I did respond to him with a very lengthy response, and the whole time I was just thinking of the person reading his comments who's afraid to get help, and now retreat. I think she was meant to say might, and now might retreat even further. So bizarre. I thought we were going to cover that topic today. So this whole week, I've been
let's start talking about it, right?
This whole week, I've been talking to people about it.
Yeah.
And this is where I stand. I think addiction is a disease. They're like, no, it's a choice because you chose to pick up. Not everybody that uses mind-altering substances becomes addicted to them.
Mm-hmm.
We all have that ingrained in us where we can become addicted. You start using, not everybody that drinks is an alcoholic. There's people that take Xanax responsibly. There's people that take, their pain medicine responsibly. So I really do think that, it's a choice to start using. And some people can just keep making that choice to use and stop using. But some of us do have that
if I can
disease.
speak and add to your point, Brianna, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
There's a thing that I play in quite a bit in my episodes. I'm not hosting this, so I can't do it. I probably played it for at least one of you two because I play it quite often, either Sean or Rich, about Dr. Lisa when she speaks to this very thing. Did I play it for you, Sean? Yeah. She speaks about, she's talking to an ex-boyfriend who had used coke, he had used ecstasy, he'd done all the party things, but at the end of the day, he moved on to live, a normal life or whatever, and he's not an addict. Whereas her brother made all those same choices, right? All of us made all the choices everybody around us was making, and then the difference was we couldn't stop when everyone else did. So why are we to be? And I wish I could word it so eloquently the way she did, but I'm me. So why are we demonized for making the same choices everybody else made? We just couldn't stop, right? Our brains went to a place that went to where it went, and here we are. And to say addiction is it's like there's a million micro choices that get you to a point where addiction becomes a thing, and there's genetic fucking factors, and there's environmental factors, and there's trauma, and there's, I would dare say, the vast majority of people who suffer an addiction have no idea why. Right? Like they can't even understand it themselves. So how the hell are you going to try and understand somebody else's journey, somebody else's issues? Right? I can tell you, being here, there is shit about myself I did not know about. Now that I'm in trauma therapy, I'm completely awestruck by the revelations that are being made every single day while I'm here. So you can't speak to somebody else's shit. Fuck off. I'm in the fuck off to that guy camp. Now three of us have picked a camp. I'm just saying. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah. So I'm in the same boat as you. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy all the way. These are my favorite comments to tackle on any form of social media. When people say, "Oh, addiction is not a disease; it's a choice," especially from people who say that they are, in recovery or been sober. Like, one, get off your high horse. Two, shut the fuck up. And three, get educated. So the first, get off your high horse. Stop being a dickhead, right? And it goes in the vein like everybody's been saying. We don't wake up one morning and say, I think today is a great day to get addicted to fucking heroin, right? Like, or, oh, hey, today's a great day to become an alcoholic. These things happen, and they happen over time, right? There's people that get addicted to prescription medications that it wasn't their goddamn choice, right? They were prescribed it. Maybe they took it as prescribed, but then it became an addiction based off of the chemical dependency that is created in their body, right? So for somebody to sit there and say, "Oh, addiction is a choice," suck my whole asshole, not just part of it, the whole thing, right? And I'll say that to the day that I die. But on top of that, addiction's a disease, and we've spoke about it all day. And I'll say it till the day I die, until I'm blue in the face and nobody can prove to me otherwise that it's not. And I back it up saying this in the DSM-5, right? It's been classified in the DSM from the very first edition to now, right? And it's evolved over time with what it's been called, right? Now it's called a substance abuse or a substance use disorder, and that's fine. But it's still in there, right? And I think that when people don't educate themselves, right? I had somebody say that to me and was like, and refused to look at the DSM after I posted the link. Refused, absolutely refused. I said, okay, well, if you don't fucking believe psychologists and doctors and all these other people at SAMHSA that are making this up, like, okay, it's recognized by Health Association, right? And I literally posted links for this person to read, and they refuse to read it because it is the ignorance of the masses. Now I'm gonna step back from that. Rich, you talked about the opium crisis and and Afghanistan. Being somebody that went to Afghanistan, and I actually like walked poppy fields as patrolling as part of my job. I can say I never have seen anybody pull any poppy from there, but I have seen the effects of it, and it's fucking crazy.
Wow.
At its purest form, I've seen somebody get pop a bulb, and then they got shot, and it was like nothing happened, and it blew me away.
Wow.
If I can, just because this is something that I want to do a podcast miniseries about this at some point. What was the purpose of having you guys over there guarding poppy fields, or what was?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, why were you walking a poppy field? Yeah.
So it wasn't necessary. Well, from my understanding, it wasn't necessarily the poppy fields we were guarding, right? We never controlled anything, right? Like we never tried to do any of that. Actually, on top of that, too, there was a shit ton of hashish fields everywhere, and we were put on details to burn it, right? To eliminate it. We didn't eliminate the opium fields, as far as like I'm aware and that I've observed. We had to cross those opium fields or those poppy fields to get to the other side to where our mission was, right? So we weren't.
Why burn the hashish and not burn the poppies?
That's odd, eh?
Don't ask me.
Right.
I have no idea.
And I'm also
Crazy.
I'm not a hater of the military either.
Oh, I know.
I'm a fan of support the troops, all of it. God bless.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the fucking lying ass government.
Oh, true. I'm in a full belief that Vietnam was meant to kick off the drug war.
I mean,
well, it did kick off the drug war, whether it was meant to or not. It certainly did, right?
Yeah.
We all know that, right? Well, I guess we don't all know that, but I've certainly been informed about that as a result of my job.
Vietnam, Cambodia, all of it.
Yeah, right.
I gotta pull these comments up.
I want to go back to addiction being a choice or a disease. Like Sean, you're sitting there, chew, in your mouth. You're not going to wake up one day and be like, "Oh, I want to have mouth cancer today."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Me, Chuck, and we're smoking. We're not going to. Oh, hey, I want lung cancer.
Yeah.
So why can't addiction?
Mind you, Rick is smoking a cigar, and he looks pretty fucking gangster doing it. I'm just saying. So that's a little different. He's got that whole Joe Rogan vibe going on there. Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate thing happening. Look at a dapper motherfucker with a cigar happening, right?
I mean,
is it Cuban? You're in Florida, so.
No, this is better. This is an Arturo Fuente rare pink sophisticated hooker. This is my favorite of all time.
Jesus,
that's a mouthful.
Yeah,
could have just said this is a good cigar. I mean, really, but
So like going back to Sean, like you were saying, some people it's not like they got addicted by not a choice by taking the prescribed and being chemically. That was me. I mean, I was in a motorcycle accident at 16 years old. I broke both of my arms, my pelvis, my collarbone. I was in a wheelchair for 3 months. I went through 3 surgeries, a year and a half of physical therapy. And guess what? I was fed as much opiates as I ever wanted. And I did take them as I should. But after being on it so long, you become physically dependent. I wasn't 16 years old, like, I want to go and fucking get addicted to Oxy. I mean, I was a 16-year-old, smoked weed. Okay, cool. I think every 16-year-old does that. But when it came to the opiates, so I agree, like 100% right there. Like we didn't just wake up and just decide to fucking take it.
Yeah. Y'all want to hear a war story real quick?
Hell yeah.
All right. Second deployment in Afghanistan, 2010. We're in the northeast part of Afghanistan, Kunar province. And we were in this firefight, and my commander told my gunner, who just so happened have this tow missile, which is it's a TV operated, wire guided rocket system mounted on the vehicle, and they can only traverse so high. And he tells my gunner, his name is Rich McCullough, he's like, "Hey, I want you to shoot that house." Right at the time, we were allowed to destroy houses. We were stepping away from that shit, but. Yeah, he said, "I want you to shoot that house because bad guys are in there." And so my gunner, Rich, he pushes the gun down, or pushes the missile down, in the back to angle it up, and it's traversed so high. that when he shoots it, the flames go down the side of his plate carrier, burn his back, and we treated him. And you guys are about to get pissed off with fentanyl. And we treated him with fentanyl, with a fentanyl lollipop. And looking back now, that was the start to the decline, and he is now dead from an overdose this year.
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's, you know, it's fucking crazy, right? And so even in the military, like, you know, nobody's perfect, and in a perfect world this shit wouldn't happen, but it happens. And the military breeds people for addiction, and then when they do something to act on their addiction, they get fucking slapped on the ass, slapped on the hand, other places that I don't want to say on Facebook for you guys, and then they're kicked out and said good luck, and then they have to survive on what they know, and that's addiction.
Right.
Dude, that brings up two things for me. The first thing is that there's people respond to substances in a variety of ways, and I think that that's something that gets left out of that conversation for people who want to say that addiction is a choice. And Alcoholics Anonymous, love it, hate it, whatever. I personally am a fan of the way that it divvies up different groups of drinkers, drug users, whatever. It's AA, so they say drinkers, but we can all take that to mean whatever substance. And to paraphrase it, it basically locks up three different groups of people. There's the normies or muggles, whatever you want to call people who can take it or leave it. They can have a drink like, my sister can have a drink once in a while. She can even get drunk, go out and have a good time once in a while and doesn't burn her life down about it. It talks about the problem drinker, that's category number 2, who, they can struggle, they can face severe interpersonal problems, but if they're confronted with sufficient reason to quit, then they can do that on their own will. The book talks about like a stern warning from a doctor, or things like that. Your marriage gets in jeopardy. They can quit on their own will. And then the book talks about the true alcoholic, and that describes me pretty well, who, despite whatever consequence you hurl at me, you can't lock me up, you can't beat me up, you can't medicate me, you can't take me to church, you can't take me to psychiatry, ask me how I know, because they tried all those things many times. I cannot, by any human intervention, quit.
Yeah.
And I think that, man, a guy gets fucking burned by a missile, and that, did they issue you guys ceramic or steel plate carriers out there?
Ceramic.
Sure. I mean, so that shit's got to get pretty fucking hot. I mean, imagine this guy's fucked up. Like, if anybody's a candidate for a fentanyl lollipop, this guy who got burned up by a missile. Yeah. But there's, there's no,
right? Like just think about that. I mean, it's really resonating with like a missile, right?
Yeah, I mean that's serious shit. And there are horrifying. I used to work in ERs, and there are horrifying things that can happen to a human body that warrant a fentanyl lollipop or 10.
100%. 100%. Burns being one of the major ones, right?
Yeah. But there's no way of knowing, are you going to respond like me, or are you going to respond like my sister? Yeah. Because I'll take that shit and burn my life to the ground with it. Whereas some people will just be grateful that there's a medication that can walk them through a traumatizing, painful time. Yeah.
Right. And that's trying to explain that to people, like the guy that you were saying. It's just there's no fucking point sometimes, right? I mean, you can put all that energy into trying to change the mind of the willfully ignorant, but at the end of the day, if they're willfully ignorant,
dude, and that's the other part too, as far as like the people online who don't even get me started on the fucking internet, okay? But the people online who like to go and say that like this is a choice or something like that, you can point out the inconsistencies in their logic, and you can it's easy to do. You can poke a hole and say like, okay, so little Debbie's are a choice, but diabetes is a disease. Like, there are clear distinctions between these fucking things.
This comment right here.
But these people are fucking guys, and everybody listening, these aren't fucking good people. These aren't people who are making good faith arguments. These are people who are operating in bad faith in order to make themselves feel superior. I quit. You can quit too. It's a choice. it's a moral failing, and I have overcome my moral failings, and look how good I am, and how bad everyone else is.
You know what the real moral failing is propagating that shit. That's the real moral failing, right? And it just winds me up, right? I've gone off a few times now about it, but it looks like we got a comment in from Tina if Brianna wants to take over the comment thing, right?
I have to read it off the screen because my phone died.
Okay. If you want me to do it, I'll do it.
Can you read it? Don't twist his arm.
I've been waiting to do my radio voice all week.
So Tina said, I believe most people have an addiction of some kind: food, gambling, sex, drugs, anything. But drugs and alcohol is a disease. I could go on for hours with my views. All people need help. I think it very well could be a disease.
Well, of course it is. We know it is because it's been medically proven time and time again. Dr. Lisa will talk about the CT scans where you can see people in active addiction and their prefrontal cortex, if I've got the terminology right there, is not working. Right? Like, you know it is. Like, of course it's whatever. One of my co-hosts, Ryan Bathgate, does not believe it's a disease, and one of these days we're going to have that argument on here, right? So, right, yeah.
There's Amber coming in again.
It's really easy to get into the weeds in the disease conversation, and I used to, when I used to meet people when I worked in residential treatment centers who were reluctant to admit that it was a disease.
Yeah.
The starting place is to say that, okay, well, we can both agree that like a healthy and well-balanced mind does not wake up one day and say, I'm going to inject my arm.
Burn my life down. Yeah.
So let's agree there that the mind that does that is not healthy and well-balanced. You want to call it a disease or not, whatever, but let's just go ahead and get it out of the way that there's something wrong here, man.
Yeah. Right. What it
There
takes
wouldn't
to
be treatment
inject
centers for it if it wasn't a problem. If it wasn't a disease.
Right. Well, it makes money, so I think there's a topic Rich could go on for a long time about.
All right,
predatory.
So you take the leash off me, Chuck. I dare you, take the leash off me.
Hey, Chuck, we gonna save that for another episode.
Okay,
so Rich has got something to say about predatory treatment centers. I can tell you that, right? Yeah.
I'm gonna say something that's really like controversial, and I'm sorry if it offends anybody. Actually, I'm not
anybody. Yeah, sorry.
Anyways, we in society we glorify people who are overweight and tell them, that they're beautiful, and tell them that they're successful. We glorify people who identify as a different gender, and I have nothing wrong with any of that. But why can't we glorify the person that got into recovery and saved their own fucking life? Right? Why can we not glorify and stop arguing about this bullshit and glorify the people that decided to make that change, that are no longer sleeping? I heard a quote last night from in my group that absolutely blew me away. One of my participants said, my first drink, I went to sleep, and now because I'm sober, I'm finally awake, right? Why the fuck can we not glorify those people that are finally awake and that are changing themselves and that are becoming productive members of society, that are giving back to society, when in our active addiction, we took everything and gave nothing back except for fucking heartache and sorrow.
True story. Well said, Ben. Well said. And you know what? I'll circle that back to the beginning of this entire conversation. Being an addict doesn't glorify any of that stuff. We just get, well, good for you, right? And I mean, for people that have been in it, but from outside looking in, for somebody that hasn't been, it's, well, okay, now you don't get cookies for not going to jail, right? You don't get that kind of thing where it's just, okay, great, you're doing what you should do, right? You're great, you're doing what you should have done. That said, I mean, I have an amazing amount of support, and I'll toot my own horn for a second. A year ago today, I couldn't get on a bus most days. I couldn't. 2 weeks ago, I got on a fucking plane and flew halfway around the world to change my life in an effort to better help other people, right? Fuck you, I'm going to take that. Right? I'm going to take that all the way and glorify the shit out of that, guys. You know what I mean? Like, I do get credit for that. You get credit for that, and you get credit for that, and you get credit. Everybody here does, and everybody that's ever taken that first step, man. You know, like that first day. Do you remember how hard that was? Not to go get high or drunk. Do you remember how hard that was for you? Fuck, I do. Right? You know, I remember how the first day was as hard as the first 30 days, and the first 30 days was as hard as the first year. right? Like it was just like, it's brutal, man. It's a hard thing to do. And the great thing about addicts, I'll say addicts for the sake of this conversation, is when we sober up, we are unstoppable. You know what I mean? Like we are like, look at the shit we can get done, you know, especially when we get together, be it in a 12-step room, be it in a fucking recovery capital room. I don't care what modality you're going with. We are unstoppable together. And that's pretty great.
I think that I think this right here is where we need to piggyback off for next week.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really good answer this question for Tina.
Oh, okay. Tina. Dr. Lisa is on the Ashes to Awesome podcast. That's I almost said my show, but it's so not my show anymore. It's our show. There's a whole team of us now that participate in it, both on and off the screens. And she is on the Weekend Ramble episodes. If you go to our website, A2A Podcast, that's A2A podcast.com, and just click the Weekend Ramble button, you'll come up with a whole list about Dr. Lisa. You can also click on the icon of her inside any episode and bring you to a bio page, and every episode she's been a part of. And I'll speak really quickly to her history, because now that you got me going about her. She came into my life. She was shown the podcast by a dear friend of mine, Devin McGuire. She watched an episode, listened to an episode, I guess back then we weren't doing video, and she got in touch with me on Instagram to tell me her story. Her brother, 23 years in active addiction. She has never been herself, but she quit her job as an oil field engineer. And like, I don't know if you know anything about oil field, but like, that's big money, right? Like that's like some career forever shit right there. She quit her job relatively late in life to go back to school to become a psychiatrist to further understand her brother's struggle. So she comes at all of this with a lens that is unique and profoundly helpful in so many different ways, because now she specializes in addiction. She goes out of her way to help. She's been a huge part. She's been on the show every weekend since the first time she was on. She's just amazing, right? And she's a wife and a mother and all those things, and she dedicates her time to something that she's never even suffered from, right? So yeah, Dr. Lisa is amazing. She's one of my favorite.
We'll get her on one of these lives.
Oh, yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. Should we on what is it? Friday night there, right? So tomorrow morning, we record the Weekend Ramble. Tomorrow afternoon, this is all North American time, she'll be on. So we actually have a really great guest this week too, Dr. Angie Hamilton of Families Against something R. I can't remember what the R is. It's a big giant nonprofit in Canada, and they are these are authorities on addiction medicine. So they're pretty amazing people. Tomorrow's going to be a really great episode. Right.
Speaking on that, before we wrap up, so Chuck, you already went ahead and kind of jumped on who the next guest is. Sean, why don't you? When's your next episode dropping?
Next episode for Recover Out Loud is going to drop at the end of the month. What fucking day is that? Hold on.
What's that? What fucking day is it? Right.
No. I alternate weeks between my different shows that
and voices apparently and voices. Right?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So next episode drops November 29th. And yeah.
And who do you got coming on there, Sean?
That's a good question. Dude, I have so much backed up content. Hold on.
Fuck off.
Jared's hold on. Jared's episode's coming out very soon. God damn it. Okay. I'm trying to. Okay. So my next guest is Zoe Shaman from Oregon. So Zoe, I talk to people that are in recovery for mental health as well as substance abuse as well as other things in their life, and she suffered from anorexia since she was a child. Yeah, and I felt like it was very important to give her a platform to hear her voice.
And that's dropping November 29th?
Yep.
So
and her story,
November 29th to the Recovery Out Loud podcast.
Yep. everywhere where you listen to podcasts.
Yes.
What about you, Rich?
What do you got? Yeah, what do you got next down coming through the funnel? Yeah. What do you got coming through the funnel?
Dude, I've got one in the chamber right now, and it will be with Joe Bryan, who, if you don't know who Joe Bryan is, and you live in the addiction world, and you should. Joe is one of the original treatment people, or at least the modern iteration of treatment in the U.S. Early, 70s. Guy from Florida. He owns the Beachcomber down here in South Florida. So me and him do a pretty lengthy dive into the modern wave of addiction treatment in the country, and that will drop. That'll drop whenever the bat signal turns off and I'm not flying out to go help a family somewhere.
Fair enough. Actually, and why don't we let's talk to that real quick, Rich? You've got an opportunity now. Tell us about Rosecrest.
Sure, yeah, man, absolutely happy to. Rosecrest is a small organization that I founded with my wife in 2021. We do a lot of problem solving around addiction. Most of my time is spent doing interventions. I'm a certified intervention professional, and we're licensed and insured and have all the T's dotted and I's crossed. If that matters to you, great. It doesn't matter as much to me as it does that I am efficient in, like when we talked about that aspect of the disease of addiction, that this inseparable part where the disease tells you that you don't have a disease. I've got some solid moves to combat that. So that's what I do. I go in and we have conversations with people and do what we can to persuade them to act in their best interest. And whether they do or don't, I can teach families to be healthy in the face of awful situations. It gets really dark where addiction gets concerned. And then Rosecrest as a whole, we transport people all over the country back and forth to treatment. When somebody just needs some support on a long airplane ride. We do sober companionship, so folks who are just getting out of treatment or anybody who's in any kind of particularly high risk situation, waiting to get into treatment, just getting out of treatment, on furlough from treatment for weddings and funerals. I have a small team, and we can deploy anywhere in the country on a rapid response basis, gender specific, 24/7, and make sure that someone can have professional support when they're in a high risk period of recovery.
Wow, I never knew that last bit, man. So, wow.
I want to have Rich on. I want to have Rich on the Blacklist podcast.
Yeah, you do.
Dude,
yeah, you do. Absolutely. And Sean, you too, man.
Yeah.
Like I've done. This is what have we done? 3 together now, Rich? I think. 3.
It's hard to say because what does the one that got chopped down? Or...
Yeah, so it's weird. We've done multiple episodes anyway.
We're all at this point.
Yeah, right. He's a hell of a guest, and yeah.
Oh, I'm a proud former sponsor of Ashes to Awesome podcast.
Yes. Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Chuck told me that you told him you didn't like his content no more, so you pulled your funding.
That's such bullshit. No.
No.
Yeah.
But
that just boiled down to the money people told me I wasn't allowed to do it anymore.
By money people, I mean my wife.
And then I guess for us, we drop every Wednesday. So Wednesday the 22nd, we have recovery artist Indianapolis, Willie K. He's blowing up, definitely out there. But I'm dropping a bonus episode with Joe Nestor tomorrow or Sunday.
Joe Nestor who is Joe Nestor?
Joe Nestor. People don't know who he is. He is an OG in the recovery community. He's basically up there with like Kalichi, Rare Breed, which I've had the opportunity to have Kalichi on. But Joe, he's been doing this a decade, and he's known all over the world in the recovery community industry as far as music wise and advocacy and all that. So we filmed a really, really good episode with him, and I'm excited. That's a bonus episode. So if it doesn't drop tomorrow, I'll drop it Sunday. But that's just going to kind of be out of nowhere.
All right. Good stuff.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give it, since we're all podcasters here, give everybody a chance.
That's a really great thing, man. That never even occurred to me. But why the hell wouldn't we do that, right?
Right.
So episode out.
We'll have Chuck close us out today.
Well, I just want to say real quick, Rich, I want to thank you and your wife for starting Rosecrest and giving people that additional support and stuff like that. It's so important. Really especially like you were saying, like people going out on furlough and stuff like that. Like that is wonderful to offer that additional support. You know, that's another upper hand that you guys are giving people, and it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Well said, Brianna.
Well, it really does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Of course you can.
So, do you know who started a recovery center that blew my mind when I heard it? Was the
Who's that?
Ethical Hacker. If you've ever
I've watched him. Yeah. Yeah.
Sean
Yeah.
Hannity episode, he started a recovery center because his best friend overdosed in their apartment. It blew me
Really?
away. This dude, yeah, dude's a millionaire, and he was like, "I got to do something because it affected me too close to home."
Yeah.
Well, that's what it takes sometimes, unfortunately, right?
Mhm.
So, hey guys, while I do the outro here, let's get all of you doing the 3 magic words, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
All right. All right. We all know what we
We're
got to
ready
do.
when you.
I love
We're
that.
ready when you are.
All right. All right, everybody. If you're in active addiction right now, today could be the day. Today could be the day that you start a lifelong journey. Reach out to a friend, reach out to a family member, call into detox, go to a meeting. I don't care. Do whatever the hell it is you need to do to get that journey started, because it is so much better than the alternative. And if you have a loved one who's suffering in addiction right now, you've just taken the time to listen to the Black Ash Radio. If you just take one more minute out of your day and text that person, let them know they are loved. Use the words.
You are loved.
Loved.
That little glimmer of hope just might be the thing that brings them back. And stop.